What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvidia, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. And break down what's happening with some important data affecting the markets, what's going on with some big earnings, what you should be watching for today, as we have important charts to be discussing. Before I begin the downloads information, before I talk about Super Micro and all these others, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and the offer ends very soon, in just a couple of weeks. Anyways, now looking at the market, I just want to say that SPY is continuing to break its all-time high. It's trying to fight this resistance between 516.8 and about 517, and we'll have to see how well this could break above that. We're still pushing off this unemployment data, and SPY is still looking very strong. We're also starting to see a lot of other charts following the trend. Tesla is also trying to push. We're seeing a lot of stocks maintaining their green stances, and Aapl is also pushing just a little bit, not to mention the QQQ approaching new all-time highs. So the market's showing some strength. The market's holding up nicely, and we're going to be watching to see how well this can maintain. But I just want to note that the reason why the market's pushing is because the unemployment data came out. Basically, non-farm payrolls were above expectations at 275,000. The unemployment rate went up to 3.9%, and the market is still pumping amidst this because one way the market could be interpreting this is it could be believing that as unemployment with this going up, this is like going to increase the odds of inflation going down. It could also just be used as an excuse just to pump the markets more to squeeze shorts. So there are all sorts of different reasons as to why this is causing the market to pump. But either way, that is the end result, at least for the time being. As time goes on, we have the WASDE report coming out. If you don't know what that is, it's basically just a monthly report about annual forecasts for the supply and use of world wheat, rice, grains, and things like that. So that's going to be important. Might cause somewhat of a move for the markets at noon, but maybe nothing too crazy. And that's the only piece of data that's worth noting for today that's coming out besides the unemployment data. And that's it for now. We just have the WASD report coming out at noon, and that's pretty much it. For earnings, we went over the earnings from yesterday. Today, we just had America's car mart, and that's pretty much it. America's car mart ended up falling, unfortunately, because revenue was down 7.9%. Net income experienced a loss. Gross profit also increased just a bit, but everything else was just so. But with revenue dropping, we saw the share price drop too. And last but not least, for the other pieces of news coming out, the market's continuing to hold up amidst the jobs report. Also, you could argue that Joe Biden's speech yesterday could have helped his State of the Union address. But now that's out of the way, we're going to be watching resistance levels. On top of this, looking at the jobs markets, things are looking quite steady. You could argue that, but at the same time, we did see a slight increase in unemployment, despite that the market is still holding up well. There's been a lot of talk about Jerome Powell and them potentially cutting rates. He basically said that they're not that far from being able to ease on policy, but there's still a lot of work to be done. So they still have to continue to do what's very, very important. I also find a lot of headlines like this very ridiculous. Like they're talking about how this company known as Novo Nordisk basically has surpassed Tesla in market cap. And honestly, guys, it just doesn't make sense to me. Why does it even matter at this point? They're just trying to find anything to be used against Tesla, which is what these mainstream articles tend to do. And we're seeing a lot of these grocers basically racing each other, from Walmarts to Target and etc. And we're going to be looking at new or potentially new existing subscription services. There's been some talk about that, but that's pretty much it for headlines. Nothing too crazy for this Friday. Now for SPY, here are the levels to be watching for. Watch resistance at 516.5, followed by 516.8 to 517. Make sure you watch those levels. Right now, SPY is trying to push hard. Could push a little bit higher. If it breaks past 517, our next target is 518. We have a very tight amount of resistance still here, so be careful. So 516.5 and then 516.8 to 517. Those are both some tight resistance areas. If we reject, watch it come down towards the breakout area at 518. 515.8, excuse me. If we lose that, there's 515. Below that, we have 514.2, which is the previous all-time high as our next support, followed by the 513 area. And we also have this yellow trend line, which is going to be our next support way down here. So this yellow trend line right here around this 512 area. Overall, I would say that the SPY chart is trying to push, but resistance is getting very, very tight, so be very careful. We do have a lot of puts expiring. We have a 2.64 puts to call ratio, 1 million puts expiring, and about 400,000 calls. So there's a very good chance SPY could try to hold up a little bit, but watch this resistance very, very carefully. I think it's going to push a little bit, and then we're going to be watching to see how we react this resistance. So look for an attempt to push higher, but then we could end up turning, so be careful at resistance. For the QQQ, it's the same thing essentially. This thing is testing this high right here at 446.8. If we do break past this resistance, going to be looking for a push for 447. If that breaks, there's 447.5 to 448 coming. So watch these resistance levels. For support, watch 446, 445, and etc. We are pushing right now. It's going to attempt to push a little higher, but watch resistance at 447. Can we break it or not? It's going to be a very tough resistance, so just be very careful on the QQQ. We have another runner for today, and that's Tesla stock. Tesla is showing some life today, trying to get back above this. And I called this out yesterday that we have a potential inverse head and shoulders. I thought it might drop first and then get the breakout, but it already broke out from here. And Tesla's trying to push above 180, testing 182 exactly as we predicted. So now, as we hit this resistance, one could also argue that, excuse me, guys, I apologize, that Tesla might come down a little bit. We could actually retest 180 to 181, make our way back up to 182 and try pushing. If it breaks 182.5, we could push and get closer to 184. But overall, I do think Tesla may try to uptrend a little bit more. It may be a little dependent on the market, but Tesla could push towards 184 plus. If we break this, our next target is going to be all the way up here towards this imbalance at 187. That's going to be our next target above here. But overall, Tesla is attempting to uptrend a bit. Let's hope that this thing tries to push higher. It might reject at first, but then eventually test 182. I think that there is potential for it to get up to 184 plus, so I'm seeing some life in Tesla. Nvidia is on a tear as usual. If you look at Nvidia, it's just continuing to push, and we're now testing this resistance up here. This is another level I called out. Right now, it's on such a big uptrend that there's not really much stopping it, and it could just continue to go higher. So we're watching this resistance right here around this 955 area. Break above this, we have 960 as our next target. Get above that, then 965 is coming next, way up here, followed by 970. The notorious 970 is going to be next. Overall, Nvidia is on a very, very strong uptrend. If we break this resistance, we could push higher, and it's continuing to push very, very well. For support, make sure you watch 950. If we lose this, there's 940 coming next, and around 941-ish. If we lose that, our imbalance could take us all the way down to 925. But overall, it's bullish. It could continue to try to break 958 and make its way up to 965. The chart is bullish. It's on a nice uptrend. Could continue to push higher from here. Now, Aapl, not looking that great. It is attempting to bounce a bit. But the reason why I said it's not that great is because this is not like that incredible. We're still barely shuffling at 170. We have to try to get above 170.9, eventually 172 to try to make our way back up. Otherwise, we're just going to continue to consolidate and be stuck trading sideways right here. So I'll be watching to see how this goes. We're still kind of stuck for the time being. But with that being said, guys, thank you all so much for listening. With all the puts expiring on SPY, the market does have an incentive to try to hold up. It does have an incentive to do so. We have a 2.64 puts to call ratio. But my only concern about SPY is that this thing is in new territory and the resistance is getting very tight. I'm seeing tough resistance right here. So we'll see how well this thing can try to hold up. Can we get past 517? If we do so, we could push to 518 plus. I just wanted to provide you guys with a very necessary warning to be very, very careful. SPY does have a lot of attention and a lot of potential to continue to push, but you have to be very careful because you never know what could happen at these resistance levels. Anyways, that's it for this one. Thank you for listening, guys. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys very soon on the next one. Thank you, and peace out.